Welcome back. Monday front page, 94.7 The Pulse, gambling reform. I've got to put my hand up again and say this is a thing that really grates on me, that we're not doing more to change the amount of political advertising that is coming our way and deliberately and knowingly damaging people's lives. And a man who's more upset than I is Martin Thomas from Gambling Reform. He's with us this morning. Martin, good morning and welcome back.
Morning, Rob. Thanks for having us.
Good to have you. Some more really disturbing stats about the numbers of teenagers that we now know gamble regularly. It is quite staggering. It is quite frightening, and still, despite all the work that 𝗫𝗵𝗏 did in a federal government investigation and this new set of data, still no appetite at all from both major political parties to do anything about it, it seems. Is that still what we're dealing with?
Yeah, that's still the case. So the teen gambling problem is a real crisis. The latest research from the Australian Institute says that 1 in 3 underage kids, so 12 to 17, gambling. It's 1 in 3, 600,000 young kids. So, but as you say, there are many people in the federal parliament, particularly in the crossbenchers, but even within the major parties that are supportive and have spoken out publicly for a full ad ban, but not enough in terms of those within the major parties, and we are still yet to really see it raised by either leader on the political trail.
So in your situation, you've got a tactic, you've been tipping away, banging on doors, putting the case forward. You keep hitting roadblocks. Are you changing what you're doing or banging harder?
Look, a bit of both. I mean, obviously, an election time is a critical time when promises are made, sometimes a bit more flippantly for the sake of expediency. I mean, we still can't get over the fact that polling shows that 76% of all Australians want a full gambling ad ban. If you ask them, do they just want stronger regulations on ads, it goes up to 85%. So look, really, the public are on side. It should really be a no-brainer when we have these stats around kids. What really I think is happening is a behind-the-scenes, closed-door lobbying effort where political donations are made, ministers and prime ministers and leaders are hosted in sporting events by the gambling industry, and it really is, and the sheer number of lobbyists, research shows that the gambling industry uses more lobbyists than any others. But look, I think in the long term, this is really very similar to the debate on tobacco. And while it took a long time, and the tobacco agencies in many cases, or the tobacco executives lied through their teeth in saying tobacco wasn't harmful, I think we will get change. It's just a matter of when, and I guess the casualties that are happening while we're waiting.
That's a very important issue, and I was thinking about this yesterday on the eve of our conversation. My experience with the cigarette ads. I was an ex-smoker. I remember the flash Marlboro ads and the bloke on the horse and how impressive it looked, and it was influencing young people like it influenced me, and they realised it was not good and they stopped. And people still smoke, and I'm sure people will still gamble if the ads stop. But so it's not as if it's new territory. Why is it so difficult to do something that's already been done?
Well, I guess it was difficult then. It's difficult now. I think it's fair to say that for a long time, gambling has been Australia's blind spot. I think we've had gambling with poker machines, which many people, I think, thought harmless, but as the technology changes, they became more and more harmful. Instead of just throwing $1 into a one-armed bandit, you can load up $7,000 a spin now in the new poker machines. And then with new technology, meaning that with an iPhone and a smartphone, you've got a casino in your pocket 24/7, all that has made things so much more damaging. And it's why we need greater protection and regulation, because I don't think Australians are bigger gamblers than in any other country. I mean, I know it's part of our culture, people say, but so it is in China and Ireland and all these other places. The big difference, as you put your finger on, is we have probably the laxest legislation in the world that allows 1 million gambling ads a year, and it's just obviously advertising does work. And when you throw that together with being linked to the sporting codes, then it's getting our young people at an extraordinary level.
You need support. You need someone to carry the message. So politically, we know you're wasting your time with the two major parties. So have you got other avenues you are attached to now that are helping you beat that drum in the right place?
Well, I guess what we've learned about politics is that particularly the major parties, even this Prime Minister, that they are absolutely against something until they're not.
Yep.
We really believe that the polling on this is unbelievably powerful and not in dispute. Different polls have put it between 72 and 76%. So we think it still needs to be an annoyance. We need to be asking people to ask all the candidates that are going in whatever electorate they are what their stance is on banning gambling ads and the Murphy Review. And we believe there's enough anger out there, particularly from parents that are just sick and tired of seeing their kids being groomed essentially for gambling. That will get a turning. But look, if we don't, the next step will be a minority government, and we know that among the crossbenchers and Greens and others, they're all very, very strongly on the record as saying they support gambling reform. Even
in the short term, is there some negotiation about even legislation to change the style of advertising? Because in a lot of cases, I see it directly aimed at young people in front of the telly watching a game in progress and just get involved in the game in a financial way. It's blatant and obvious.
Yep.
Can there just be legislation to say, all right, you can still advertise, but let's change the way you do it?
I guess the history and the evidence shows that no matter how tricky you try to get with your legislation, the industry is trickier and they just find loopholes. And that's the same not only with the content, and obviously of recent years we've had it's not gamble responsibly, it's other taglines like you'll lose more than you win. But the other element is people have also said, well, why don't we just restrict the ads a little bit more? And when we've tried to do that, the number of ads in the restricted zones when they can advertise has gone through the roof. So we just think the argument is for a full ad ban, not to ban gambling. We are not against gambling, we're against gambling harm. And we, as you said earlier, the fact that advertising works and they are allowed to plug away with 1 million ads every year is really what is fueling this crisis in both sports betting, but particularly amongst teenagers.
Yeah, the other thing that's concerning for me, I suppose, too, is at this time of year we're close to an election and there's so many things that are issues that are popping up, that there's vote-catching ideas left, right and centre. For you to get a little bit of a wedge in amongst all that, to have the voice heard, is pretty difficult. Are you finding that for that reason that now's a good time to put pressure on, but there's no room to move for you?
Oh, look, absolutely, and we're doing all we can to put pressure on. We don't have a huge amount of resources. We're running pretty targeted social media campaigns in different electorates where we're putting as much pressure on candidates to really come out with what their policy is and what they support individually on a gambling ad ban. I think the amount of research with this latest poll that the Australian Institute did, and we did a research that we commissioned on gambling losses as a cost of living issue, which essentially found it's a bigger drain on the household budget than power bills. All of this, we hope, through a kind of an evidence-based approach, means it's a compelling argument. Of course, the people can go to our website at agr.org.au and find all those details. We're also trying to fundraise as well so we can boost what we do during the election in terms of that campaigning.
Well, there's a lot of people out here that do agree with you. We'll continue to bang the drum on your behalf, Martin. Look forward to a conversation and maybe progress the next time we chat, but it's something we're going to continue to talk about because it's bad, and we've got to put pressure on the right people to make a difference one way or the other as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And please keep your energy up. Your organisation does a stunning job. Really, it's amazing what you do as a group, and I know you're always looking for support financially, and how can people do that if they want to help your cause?
Yeah, well, look, they can go to our website, which, as I mentioned, agr.org.au, and they could donate there, which would be amazing. Look, I think the politicians are just hoping this will go away, and I think people like you and your listeners will make all the difference if they just keep up the noise.
Excellent. Martin Thomas, thank you so much for your time. Best wishes till we speak again.
Take care. Cheers.